I need to move.
It's okay, I think. It's okay? Yeah.
Yes.
My head's not in it.
Yes. Not in.
Okay, so let's start our events tonight. Welcome to Four-Six. Tonight we have a sleep masterclass from Jason, our good friend. And tonight we will have a longevity community talk organized by Link. And it will start at 7 o'clock. Yes, and can keep stay here and have the longevity talking. Okay, so thanks, Jason, to start our event.
I never get an applause. That's different. But yeah, thanks to Zeke, thanks to Four Seats for hosting me. They invited me to come to their space, and I met Summer and Zeke and heard the very interesting story of the origin of Four Seas and Zuzulu, and all these interesting things around distributed networks and that sort of thing, which is super fascinating. I am a tech guy in a past life, actually doing it again. I'm doing some AI consulting now, but that's aside from what we're doing today. Today is squarely in health and wellness and why you guys brought me here, which is longevity, right? So who here has heard of longevity? Who's interested in longevity? Actually, this is an interesting question. Who would like to live longer? Like if that sounds good to you, like longer than most people live. Okay. Yeah. So as Zeke mentioned, 7 p.m. Right? Link is going to lead us through another presentation specific to longevity.
Yeah, it's a longevity community talk. We're gathering like you attend, all the event attendees and some speakers hosting past healthy related event together. You just got about how we can host in this longevity community in Chiang Mai and what we really care about longevity. Yes, tonight.
Yeah, the more people we can get behind this movement. I started biohacking meetups back in 2019 here in Chiang Mai. The first one I started, I was the only one who went. So it was just me. And then I did them every week. And then we had 3 people, and then 7 people, and then eventually like 15 people. And it was a nice group every week. I was actually advised by the global organizer. They're like, hey, you shouldn't be doing these every week. You're going to cannibalize your own audience. And I was like, no, here in Chiang Mai, we actually get new people every week. But that was before COVID. Then COVID hit. And now we do our biohacking meetups once a month. So if you guys are interested in that or any of my other events, you can just ask me. I can share. But for tonight, we're talking about sleep. Sleep. Right on cue, went to sleep, right? If it were that easy, right? If I could just say sleep, and you fall asleep. I almost do that now. Who can fall right asleep? Hit the pillow and, oh, that's me. Usually, most nights. I wasn't like that though. I used to be a terrible sleeper, and I'll get into my story later. But before we get into this, I have a few prompts here at the bottom of the slide. You guys have probably already seen it, so maybe your minds are already thinking of some answers, hopefully so, because I want to hear from you guys. So it's not just me presenting. I would like to learn from you guys and all learn from each other tonight, because I guarantee you guys have something to offer that I can't offer, right? We all have different experiences. So with that, I'm curious, what are the challenges that you and perhaps others face with their sleep? So anybody want to share, like problems with sleep, challenges you have with sleep? So this is your time just to throw it out there.
I don't normally have trouble, but if I do have trouble, it's because there is some problem, that's just around my head. Looking at us all, it's just some anxiety, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so in your head, maybe overthinking, something like that, ruminating.
Not knowing how to deal with an issue.
Yeah.
Situation.
Yeah, pending issue in the mind. Yeah, for sure. That's a good one. Anyone else?
I have a sleep problem. It's sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea.
Yeah, that's not my school, and sometimes that makes me breath heavy.
Mm.
So anxiety of that.
And I noticed you don't look overweight because I also had sleep apnea, and it drove me crazy because the first thing it says is like, well, you probably should lose some weight. I'm like, well, I don't have a whole lot of weight to lose, so there's something else going on there. I'll talk about my issues, but thank you for sharing that, because that is a very common and often undiagnosed issue. And so how that manifests is that when we're sleeping at night, we stop breathing, which is very important, because we need to breathe to get oxygen to the body, and especially the brain, right? So what happens when we stop breathing at night so many times, to have sleep apnea, and actually we wake up tired, we have less energy, and it goes against our goals of longevity, right? We won't live as long. So that's a big one we want to fix, for sure. Anybody else? Problems? Challenges?
I sometimes grind my teeth when I'm sleeping.
Yeah, there's a word for that, right? But yeah, teeth
Bruxism.
grinding. Yeah, bruxism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I procrastinate going to bed.
Procrastinate. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. I used to do that a lot. I still do that sometimes, but it's funny because when I really got into health and wellness, I actually really looked forward to just like winding down and going to sleep. I don't have that same mindset anymore, but it really is a shift in mindset, right? Cool. Anyone else?
I'll give you one maybe a little strange. Just not having a decent pillow.
Yeah.
Just not making the head comfortable or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So the comfort of your bedding, mattress, that sort of thing, that's really important. Yeah. Anyone else?
To me, the problem is like I sleep like as soon as I play, but then like I wake up at like 4 a.m. and then I'm waking up like every 30 minutes, and then the next day I'm like super tired.
Yeah. 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 So that's an interesting one. So I track my sleep with this device right here. It's an Aura ring. So I actually see that, or I used to see that more, where I was waking up many times during the night. And sometimes it would say I was awake for like 1, maybe 2 hours during the night, which I don't fully remember, but it's interesting that that's happening, right? So that's a common one. The other one, similar to that, is wake up at like 3 a.m. and just can't fall back asleep, right? Who's been there? I think we've all been there. Yeah. Anyone else?
I just had it. I had a flight and I had to wake up at 4 a.m. And then the next days I still wake up at 4 a.m. and really.
Yeah, we call that jet lag, right? And it's interesting we call it jet lag because we certainly can notice it and we certainly experience it when we fly to different time zones. Like the more time zones we change, usually the more challenging it is to get back into the sleep pattern. But we also get that on weekends. So a lot of people, generally the population, works has a very, generally strict schedule, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, what do? We sleep longer, we sleep in. And then Monday comes around, and we're jet lagged, right? We're tired. And then we work through the week, and then we review every week, right? So maybe not ideal, but it's not bad, right? Okay. So we're gonna run through these really quick. So the sleep struggles, generally you have trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, and this leads to a lot of improv problems. So usually it's just that. So around sleep, falling asleep, staying asleep. But then we have all the problems around that, consequences. Waking up tired, low energy, bad mood, poor performance, frequent illness, headaches, energy crashes, weight gain, slow recovery from exercise, brain fog, distraction, forgetfulness, depression, anxiety. Everything feels harder, missed deadlines, mistakes, bad decisions, and some stats to back that up, right? So 1 out of 3 people report that they're sleep deprived and get less than 7 hours of sleep per night. And this creates what they call chronic sleep debt. And then we drop our immune system. This isn't a surprise, right? If we don't sleep enough, what happens? Oftentimes we're more likely to get sick, right? Catch a cold, whatever it is, right? And then anxiety increases, right? So a lot of this is hormonal impact. So we're getting a lot more stress hormones, chronic stress hormones during the day, which leads to anxiety. And so who here has heard of Andrew Huberman? So quote here, if you care about performance, mood, and longevity, prioritize sleep first. It's the anchor for everything else. Easy to say that, right? Just sleep better. It's over so easy. So many more things here. So the World Health Organization classified night shift work as a possible carcinogen, meaning that staying up at night possibly leads to cancer, right? And even a small nightlight can drive obesity. And a mouse study, we'll come back to that one. Digital nomads here in Chiang Mai average 6.5 hours sleep per night, which is definitely not enough for most people. Sleep loss compares cognitive performance equivalent to being legally drunk. Not good, right? And then less than 6 hours of sleep increases all-cause mortality risk by 12%. So you're gonna die sooner and get sick more often. And then attention lapses as well. So without sleep, it doesn't look good, right? So I'll tell you quickly my journey from terrible sleeper to optimal sleep. And as you see here from my Ryer readiness score, 90. So optimal readiness. I don't get those every day. I think over 85 is considered optimal. And it says here, there's something in the air. It's that optimal readiness we smell. Impressive. Go enjoy the day. So childhood struggles. I used to sleepwalk. Funny story. I got up one morning as a kid, went downstairs, made myself breakfast and waffles, pouring some syrup on them. And I look up at the clock on the wall. It's 3 a.m. I'm like, oh, I am not just sleepwalking. I'm sleep eating. Weird, right? And then snoring. So I had, who here has had any dental work done? So like teeth removed, braces, that sort of thing. So I've had teeth removed, braces, and the braces push everything together and they make the mouth cavity smaller. And what does that do? It makes breathing more difficult. You talked about apnea. We talked about apnea. So that was setting me up for sleep apnea, which I didn't even realize I had for most of my life. But I had bed partners who would say, well, you stop breathing, gasping for air. But it took me, I'm a slow learner, let's say. It took me a long time to figure this out. And it really was an early health scare when I had heart attack symptoms before I turned 40. I'm 50 now. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. So I thought, well, the one thing that could be causing the problem, because I was generally active in what I thought was healthy, or at least fit, was my diet. I was on what I would call a seafood diet. I see it, I eat it, anything and everything. So that led me down a path of health and wellness, discovering what's called biohacking and some of the interest in longevity by way of a guy named Dave Asprey, who is the self-proclaimed father of biohacking. Who's heard of biohacking? Dave Asprey? Yeah. Anyway, once I discovered that, started making diet changes, but then I made meaningful changes. I understood some of the nuances behind diet, nutrition, exercise, sleep, and then everything else. The air, the light, the water, supplements. So I just dove deeply and deeply into this over the last 10 years. So I've been learning more and more. And for me, it's just fascinating. It's an interesting experiment. So in terms of sleep, that was a big part of it. Was going from maybe having, a few drinks at happy hour with some colleagues, coworkers, and then having dinner, and maybe having a few more drinks, and then coming home, and turning on the TV, and maybe having a late night snack. And then by then it's 11 p.m. And I know now, that was setting me up for even more sleep problems. So I was just compounding all these problems, right? So the biohacking turned everything around. So part of my dietary experiment here was vegan. So I tried that for 2 years. That helped clear up the heart attack symptoms. But it was really more of the nuance around biohacking that really helped. And then I used my Aura ring to track my sleep. Who here tracks their sleep? Some kind of tracking device. Yeah. So yeah, this is just more of my story. But what's important here is the question at the bottom. So what is the cause of bad sleep? So we talked about some of the problems, but what would you say causes it? Any ideas?
Phone scrolling?
Yeah. So on our devices, scrolling, yeah, for sure. Anyone else?
I think for me, what Wally said is the number one reason for me, like my mind, basically.
Mindset?
My thoughts, like mood.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else? Caffeine. Yes, big one. So stimulants will definitely keep us up.
Well, for some of us older guys, getting to pee too often.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah, I usually don't have to pee at night.
Just wait.
I did twice though last night, I think, which is unusual for me. Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, let's just move forward with these. So causes, let's say root causes of sleep problems, some of the environmental factors. So if we look around us, what do we have? What enables us to see? It's what we call light. So what we call light is the visual spectrum of light for us humans that we perceive, right? And what disrupts that is artificial lighting, right? So if you try to imagine what people did before we had artificial lighting, nothing. They went to sleep, right? Pretty much that simple, right? And so this lighting, we'll talk about this more, but it disrupts melatonin production. And melatonin is the hormone of darkness that helps us sleep at night. It does many other things, but that's a big part of it. Noise, not a surprise, will keep us up. Excess carbon dioxide, I don't think we have that problem as much here in Thailand, except for maybe for me in the burning season. So what do we do in the burning season? What do? I close everything up and turn on my air filters, air purifiers. So now I'm circulating more carbon dioxide. That's the supposed waste gas, not really waste gas. We can talk about breath and breath work another time. But supposedly a waste gas. And if we have too much of it, we're not getting, again, enough oxygen, getting back to the sleep apnea problem, right? So that'll disrupt our sleep. EMF exposure. Who's familiar with artificial or non-native EMFs? What does that mean? EMF, electromagnetic field. Say that again? Wi-Fi. Yes, radio signals are the particular type of EMF that disrupts our biological functions. In studies, it shows that it messes up our sleep. Interesting, right? I don't have Wi-Fi at home. I just don't use it. Turn off my phone, because that's also a radio signal. So these are microwave signals going through the air. We don't see them, but they pass through our bodies.
Is there a sense of how close or far away you need to be from the source of that?
Further is better. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but no, nothing's more
So it's actually an exponential change. So basically, if I'm say this is my phone and it's on, then I'm getting as close as I can. If I put it to my head, which I should never do, then I'm getting it right in my head. Not the biggest thing, the best thing. But if I just set it there, now it's exponentially further away, right? So a lot of people ask, like, what about Bluetooth headphones, right? So those are very low power, which should be safer, but I guess the way I look at it is that you're just cooking your brain a little slower.
So in terms of having internet connection live at night, it's in another room or part of the house, there's nothing in the bedroom.
That's better. Yeah. Yeah. So other causes, late meals. That's one of the biggest ones, and I'll just give you one of the big takeaways from sleep. For me, and perhaps everybody else, is that the more you can do, so somebody mentioned caffeine, which is a stimulant. Food is also stimulating. It's stimulating, and we have to process and digest that food. So the closer we eat a meal to bedtime, the longer it is going to take to get that deep, restful sleep that we need. Right? And one test we can do, we don't need a fancy device. We can just use 2 fingers, get our pulse, our heart rate, and measure that right before we fall asleep. And generally, the lower that number is, the better you're going to sleep, the more deeply you'll sleep. So there's your alternative to your smart device right there. Stimulants we talked about, alcohol I think is pretty obvious. I hope it's obvious. Who sleeps well after drinking alcohol? Some people think they do, but I would say probably not. Some more root causes. I talked about the mouth structure, which can cause overbreathing, underbreathing. If we're breathing with our mouth open, then we're breathing less efficiently. So generally, we always breathe with our mouth closed and then out through the nose. The nose filters the air. We get more nitric oxide through the nose. So we talked about that. Dental work, I talked about that. Posture and sleeping position, you mentioned the pillow. So yeah, definitely you want to get in a position that allows you to be comfortable, relaxed, and allows the air into your body, in and out, right? And then mental, emotional, so there are a lot of things here. So stress, negative mindset, worry, sleep anxiety, racing thoughts at bedtime. So some of these I wouldn't really call root cause. So a lot of the mindset issues can actually be addressed with other environmental factors. Diet, exercise, clean air, right? If that makes sense. Because a lot of the time, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm wondering, do you have access to research in terms of sleeping on your back versus on the left side, right side?
Oh man, that's a whole can of worms. Because I've listened, like I'm so intrigued, I'll listen to a new podcast and some expert will come on and say, you have to sleep on your right side. Another comes on, you have to sleep on your back. Another comes on and says something different.
Okay.
And I'm like, what?
There's no consistent data
Yeah.
at this point.
No, no. I mean, a lot of people would say sleeping on your back is generally better for posture, but the challenge, especially for people like me, who have suffered from sleep apnea, if I'm sleeping on my back, I can't breathe, right? So I have to do, and some people do the work so they get the posture right while sleeping on your back, right? For me, I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime. But it would be an interesting challenge. So, what are the solutions? So we've talked about some of the problems, the causes to those problems. So what are solutions to sleep? What works for you guys? What helps you sleep better?
I think kind of a principle is to not use technology like a half hour before bed for every book I understand, meditation, whatever, rather than having a device that you're looking at the last half hour.
Yeah. So no devices, maybe read a book. Yeah. Relaxed.
The blue light thing.
Oh, blue light.
Yeah.
What
Like I
about
tried to
the
put
red?
my Kindle in like the super yellow light and like the night mode, whatever.
Okay.
Because that's what they say that it's also a problem, right?
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
it's through a
agree.
Kindle, but
Cool.
not a computer.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Kindles, but yeah. Other devices have night shift mode or something similar to to help you get less blue light in your eyes at night, right? Any other solutions to sleep?
I'll just try a simple one. I taught teenagers for years, and they would just leave their phone on, and then ding, ding,
Yeah.
and they'd have to get up. So
Some
just
put it
turn
under
it
that
off.
pillow.
Well, yeah, just stick it in another room, turn it off for the night
Yeah.
if you have that happen.
Yeah, I know a guy here in Chiang Mai who was quite stressed, had a lot of anxiety, and he was working gigs on like Fiverr online, and his clients were in like Europe, and so he had to respond to keep his rate all hours of the day and night. And I'm like, dude, you gotta stop that. I mean, it's gonna kill you faster. Yeah. Okay, so before I'll just give you right now the number one solution in studies that works 100% of the time for everybody, no matter your level of sleep problems and insomnia. Do you want to hear what it is? You guys know what it is?
Exercise?
Exercise.
Not exercise.
Right?
Breathing.
Light has to do it. Actually, that's a big part of it.
Oh, but it's a darkened room. Make sure you've got a blackout room, or
So they take groups of people who have insomnia out in nature. They leave the technology, the devices behind, and just sleeping, living out in nature for a few days. Every time their sleep cycles normalize. And they've repeated this. So who wants to do that? Who wants to come with me on a sleep retreat?
100%.
And have perfect sleep. Just go out here in nature. Let's do it. So solutions. Light management, sound control, air quality, temperature up, EMF reduction, and then behavioral meal timing, caffeine and alcohol limits, exercise. Yes, exercise does affect sleep. Digital sunset, bedtime routine. And then stress management, meditation, journaling, positive mindset, gratitude practice, breath work, sleeping position, physical comfort, supplementation, right? So there we go. That covers a lot of the solutions, but there's more. So light, getting morning light helps. Evening darkness helps. Early meals help. Keeping your room cool helps. Right? So these are simple solutions, but are they easy? Not always. No, we can't just take ourselves out of this modern city life so easily and away from the technology. As amazing as that sounds to me, I don't get a chance to do it very often. So I'm curious what you guys think. I just laid out a lot of solutions. You guys have them all now. You're welcome. You can just go home now and start implementing them. But now let's dive deeper into just one solution. Deep dive. So what do you think is the biggest lever, or what would have the biggest impact on improving sleep from what we talked about?
No devices on the bed.
No devices on the bed. That's a good one. I like that. But that's not where we're going.
In my case, I tape my mouth. So
Mouth taping.
Yeah.
That's also a good one. What does that do? Forces you to breathe through your nose, right?
Breathe through my nose, and I sleep more deeper.
Yep.
Yeah, than before.
Yeah, for sure. Mouth tape. Right here.
Cool.
Got it. What else?
you're saying light.
Light. Light. Light is our biggest lever. In fact, I think it matters most. But that's just what I think. And so now I'll lay out some arguments, and maybe you'll think the same. Maybe not. That's okay. So this is the primary signal that regulates our circadian rhythm. So it regulates our sleep-wake cycle. Our melatonin production, as I said before, melatonin is the hormone of darkness. If we want more melatonin to get better sleep, we simply need more darkness. right? It really is that simple. So managing your light exposure correctly can dramatically improve your sleep quality, even if you don't change anything else. Who's heard of Alan? Alan is our enemy. Artificial light at night. We've done studies around Alan, and they don't look good. They disrupt melatonin. So after sunset, getting this artificial light delays melatonin release by up to 90 minutes. And then the blue light, somebody mentioned blue light? Yes, blue light from LED screens and overhead lighting is the most potent disruptor of sleep hormones. And I'll show you a slide that will give you a graphical representation of that shortly. And then even low light, like a night light or street light, or if you wake up at night and for whatever reason open the fridge, hopefully because you're getting something to drink, not to eat. But even that light from the fridge will disrupt your sleep.
Like open, you say window.
What's that?
If you sleep with an open window and there is some light at the street, that will be
Yeah.
not ideal.
Yeah, not a good idea. You don't want to let the light in.
Yeah, but then, so I have a question. For that thing, does the eye mask help? Is it just about the eye, or is it about like your whole body?
So interesting, because a lot of influencers, like even Dave Asprey, he would say this. So the father of biohacking into longevity says he's going to live to 180 years old. He would point to one study that would say that all of our cells in our body have photoreceptors. And so any light on any part of our body, on our skin, will disrupt our sleep. I think that was a weak study, and there's only one. So I think it's mostly the us. So I wouldn't worry about it that much. I mean, even closing your eyes. You close your eyes now, it gets quite a bit darker, right? But not dark enough for us to sleep, unfortunately. So, question, what are your biggest personal light-related challenges? The phone. Yeah, screens on our devices. Yep. My wife, she brings her phone into bed at night and she's scrolling on TikTok. And she seems to sleep well. Right? Maybe her body's adapted to it, adjusted. I don't know. But the science would say otherwise.
So can I ask?
Yeah.
So you mentioned sleeping outside because you're going to reset to nature's, normal life cycle.
Right.
Most of us are not going to go to bed at 6 and wake up at 5, right? So are there studies about this, the importance of having a regular, consistent time to go to sleep at night and shutting off the lights, for example? Does that help maintain sleep or develop a sleep habit?
Yeah, 100%. That's going to help. So anything you can do to get closer to that natural rhythm is going to be better, for sure.
If you're going to bed at 8 o'clock one night and 2 in the morning the next night is not a good pattern.
Not a good idea. No.
These red screens, like remember, you change settings on phones and the screens are they just kind of we're kidding ourselves and they help, or just like marginal?
So like the night shift mode and that sort of thing. It's helping a little bit, so it's just moving us a little, so we're getting less of that blunting of melatonin, if that makes sense. So the more, actually it's probably more important, I think, the more recent studies on how bright your screen is versus the actual spectrum of light. So ideally, it's black and you can't read it. It's off.
It's darker and darker until you get.
But then the closer you can get to off, the better. Essentially, does that make sense? But then blocking the blue light as well will help based on the studies. So here's a typical melatonin hormonal cycle. And let's say, I guess a typical what should be our sleep-wake cycle. So if you look here, I mean, we can see the peak of melatonin is around 2 a.m. So sort of like what we would think about the midpoint of our sleep. So that makes sense, right? But where does it start ramping up in the evening? If we drop down from here, that's about 9:30 p.m. So it should be blackout dark at 9:30 p.m. if you want the best night of sleep. Should. I don't do that.
What time do you go to bed?
About 10 p.m. Yeah, go to bed about 10 p.m. So what's that?
What time do you wake up?
Wake up between 6 and 7 a.m. Does this make sense? Yeah? We've all heard of melatonin. This is nothing
Is
new.
melatonin a chemical or neurotransmitter?
It's a chemical, it's a hormone. It's a neurotransmitter. All of the above. Yeah.
It's in there somewhere.
Yeah. It does a lot of different things, for sure. Who supplements with melatonin? I do.
I was gonna ask you for it, it's not such a
Based on the studies, melatonin, so the fear I had with melatonin is that it would downregulate my own body's production. Studies don't play that out. So we can start and stop melatonin and our body still produces the 0.3 milligrams from our pineal gland every night, right? But it's just 0.3 milligrams that our body is producing. And when we take the supplement, how much do we usually take?
10 milligrams?
5 or 10, right? So even at 3 milligrams, which is a relatively low dose from the pills I've seen on the market, you're at 10 times your natural dose, right? So you have to think about what that's doing. What's that?
It was 100% like taking.
Exactly. So it's not how much is in the pill, it's how much your body is using, where it's going. Yeah. Yeah.
And what about magnesium?
Yeah, magnesium is
You
awesome.
also take it.
Yeah. Yeah, magnesium is the number one. So we won't talk a lot about supplements, but if you want to supplement, take magnesium. And take magnesium like glycinate, or threonate, or there are a few others. So you can just look, you can ask your friend ChatGPT which ones are the best for sleep. They'll tell you.
What do you say about the night owl and the early bird based on your chart, the previous chart? So their chart will be different. I assume their hours are kind of shifted 3-4 hours.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't have that graph, but based on what we know is that if we still get light here, it's going to shift this over, but it's also going to be lower. We're just not going to get as much.
But they don't go that
Right.
high.
So it would probably look like this if we just shifted a little more like this. But if we shift it way over here, it's probably going to be just like a little more. Right?
You couldn't shift the entire chart by.
It doesn't just move, but it gets, we get less melatonin. So we get our deepest sleep between 9 p.m. and midnight. Most of that deep sleep. Unless you're going to bed past midnight. You're probably not in that.
No, I'm a 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm gone.
Okay.
I mean, if they're for a while.
So just to drive the point home with one more study in these AI created lab animals. But this essentially, I've seen the actual mice from the study. It's actually pretty close. It's not too bad. But they had two groups of mice. Group on the left, group on the right. Group on the left had 24 hours of light, artificial light. Group on the right had a natural light rhythm, right? About 12 hours of light. They both ate the same diet, and this is how they looked at the end of the study. same food. Only thing they changed was the light.
So would melatonin deficiency create cravings? Hunger cravings? Is
Yeah.
there any correlation?
Yeah. Yeah, so melatonin deficiency would. I mean, certainly we know it's not just melatonin, so perhaps, yeah, I don't know if that's the biggest lever, but certainly lack of sleep does, because it throws off all of our hormones. Part of those are our hunger hormones, which are leptin, which tells us we're full, and ghrelin, which tells us we're hungry. So those get all out of whack. So less sleep and more hungry the next day. But then we overeat. But these did not. They ate the same diet.
So just the retention somehow, the retention of the fat was greater.
Yeah, so it changed their hormones such that this one just retained a lot of fat and inflammation. So they got inflamed, literally got inflamed from artificial light. So I say that sunlight is our missing nutrient. So we talked about artificial light, now sunlight. So morning sunlight we talked about. So what I do is, first thing I do, my main mission when I get out of bed in the morning is to get outside in nature and get sunlight, move my body for the first 30 minutes of the day. So that's what I do. Which anchors our circadian rhythm in the morning, which then, if I get up and watch the sunrise, I notice it's almost impossible to stay up at night. Like my body just wants to sleep. But it also boosts our mood and neurotransmitters. So why do we feel good when we get sun? Because we get that nice boost of serotonin, some feel-good hormones. Helps us stay alert. So sunlight helps with our alertness. Artificial light helps with our alertness too. So there's some overlap there. And then vitamin D. So the UV light that we think is so harmful and so bad is actually what helps us produce naturally vitamin D. Right? So why are we blocking this amazing nutrient?
Skin cancer.
Skin cancer, yes. Skin cancer, is it as bad as it's all cracked up to be? So just on that UVA, UVB point, so we have different wavelengths of light. So when the sun, high noon, is directly above us, we have the full spectrum of light. So we have the red, the infrared, the UVA, the UVB. But in the mornings and the evenings, so now, the sun is, no, that way. So we're getting more of just the red and infrared light, and less of the UVA and UVB, right? But we want to get all spectrums of light. If I'm in here and getting the sunlight through this window, am I getting the UVA and UVB? No. All modern glassware blocks it, including the glasses you put over your face and your contact lenses. So who wears contact lenses? Yeah, you gotta take those off sometimes.
I take them off and I put the glasses on.
Right.
Shit.
So then you gotta take them both off for a while. Yeah, for a few minutes, at least a few minutes every day.
So is it like, but with the right amount, I guess, not too much, no? Still like,
Yeah.
if I go to the sun, doesn't look good, I become red and,
Yeah. Yeah, so too much is too much. So if the sun is good, a lot of us want to think more is better, but not the case. So I think we talk about that in a later slide, but since you asked, yeah, you can get, like, they say never look directly at the sun. I do it every time we have a sunrise during this time of the year. I haven't seen the sunrise in a couple of months, I think, at least. But I look directly at the sun as it rises when it's on the horizon, right? because it's mostly just that red and infrared light. So I'm not too worried about it. I don't recommend anybody else do that. But we get that beneficial light. So we can withstand a lot of that, right? So it's about after 10 a.m., between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. when we get most of those UVA and UVB rays. So we want to be a little more mindful of our sun exposure and find a nice balance. And that's going to change for everybody. As I look around here, we all have different ancestral backgrounds, different skin colors, skin types, right? And protection. So getting that morning sun actually gives you what's called a skin or sun callus, which helps protect you later in the day.
A sun what, sorry?
Like a callus, which is like just protection. So more of that red and infrared light early will protect you from those UVA and UVB later. So that you'll be more resilient. What's that?
Antioxidant systems get you around and enormous stress.
From the red and infrared, yeah. So that's why, who uses red and infrared light therapy? Anybody? So yeah, so it does have some pretty amazing health benefits. And we can get some of it naturally from the sun without buying a fancy biohacking device. So I think when people say like we get vitamin D from the sun and just leave it there, it kind of drives me a little crazy because it's more than that, right? Because then people will just say, oh, I'll just supplement with these pills, these vitamin D pills, and I'm good. And it's not, unfortunately, it's not quite that easy. Because here are a bunch of other sunlight benefits that you get: nitric oxide production, supporting your heart health, vascular health, mood via serotonin, appetite hormones. So the more you get the right amount of sun, you actually won't be as hungry. You won't overeat. And you get better cellular function from the infrared light. Skin health, actually, a lot of those, that red and infrared especially, improves our skin health. And then we get a collection of endorphins, which makes us feel good as well. So this is the common myth that sunlight causes cancer. And the truth is what we just talked about. So moderate, sensible sun exposure. Finding that balance is going to lower our risk of many diseases, including cancer. All right, so solutions. At this point, some of this should be pretty obvious. Lights out at night, block all light, so you can use sleep mask. You can put curtains, blackout curtains over your windows. That's what I have in my bedroom. You can wear blue light blocking glasses. These are my demo glasses. They don't actually work as well as my real ones. And then using natural light. So if you wanted to go totally, much more natural, let's say, you could use candles, firelight. But if you want to stay artificial, you can still use artificial solutions with red and amber light. So you can install the amber and red bulbs, dimmers on incandescent bulbs, yes, an LED now. And no flicker LEDs, so that's a bit more advanced, or at least more expensive and hard to find, like healthy LEDs. But I have some of those in my house, both red and amber LEDs that don't flicker. Actually, we have one right here. So I can't hang on. The first option on here is red. So there's an example of a red light and an example of the lights I don't use. I never use this. Because the point of this is we keep these in our bedroom, me and my wife. If we need light at night, just turn it on. Go the toilet, I put on blue blocking glasses, do what I need to do, without disrupting my sleep too much. And then on the bottom here, the angle of the light matters. So when we get the light from above, it's actually more stimulating than it is from below. So I don't do this in my house, but the ideal scenario would be to have all your lights down here. Right? So they're coming up from below. Or you can wear a hat to block the light. All right, so what are we looking at here? So we're looking at daylight, sunset, LED lights, incandescent lights. So this is where we're at right now with the lights above us. Most artificial lights, and what do we see here? It's mostly that very narrow blue spectrum of light that we're getting. And not a whole lot else, certainly not a whole lot of red or infrared. So incandescent, who knows what an incandescent light is? It's the lights we used before we switched from incandescent to fluorescent LED. So we stopped using them because they weren't energy efficient. In fact, in the United States, they banned them. I don't know if they're still banned. But they have some restrictions around sales of these lights. We can still get these. Actually, I was going to bring them. I forgot to bring them. I just ordered like 10 or 20 of them online. So I get 25-watt incandescent bulbs. And why do I get those? Look at those curves. Incandescent, sunset. It's almost the same. And 25 watt because that's the lowest energy and brightness that they have.
And you're choosing that because you want to really sunset as opposed to buying a daylight?
Yeah, it's like the cheapest, most accessible, healthy option, I would say, versus getting the healthy LEDs, which would have more of this, but in an LED.
Well, like if you buy I don't know all this stuff, but if you buy a daylight light bulb, some people for example, they've got all different kinds. Is the daylight bulb mimic daylight spectrum here? Or?
Some of them do, yeah. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but since you brought it up, so this is important, certainly for shift workers. Who's heard of Brian Johnson and the Blueprint? The guy who wants to live, I don't know what his number is, but he wants to make death optional. Sounds nice, right? His routine, he wakes up in the morning, he's actually very averse to getting sunlight, so that's where he and I would definitely disagree. So his skin is very pale, very white. So his solution, he wakes up, and while he's doing this morning thing in the bathroom or whatever, he has a very bright light, 10,000 lux light to get that stimulation. So you need an extra bright light if you want to get that stimulation. So if you were a shift worker and your hours were all mixed up, and when you wake up, you need to get that stimulation, you could turn that on. Right? You could block all the light, and then when you need it, you can turn it on. So you could go fully artificial with the light and still simulate a natural circadian rhythm. So, does that make sense? Alright, so we already talked about these. Yeah, prioritize getting sunrise and sunset. And some light in the middle of the day. So, like 30 minutes in the morning for me is good. I admittedly maybe get too much during the day. I do my ice bath experience workshops. Who's been to one of my workshops? A few of you. And so I go out and do those outside, and I'm not really afraid of getting sun. I don't get burnt. When I learned some of this stuff, especially about, I used to wear sunglasses all the time. I haven't owned sunglasses in about 10 years. And I'm better off for it. I get burned less. Because what happens when we wear sunglasses? We're blocking that visual cue to our brain to actually protect us from the sun. So we talked about melatonin, but there's another chemical that we produce called melanin that protects us from the sun. And so when we get that bright light, our body says, okay, we need to protect ourselves from the sun, produce more melatonin, and we're generally good to go. What happens if you're wearing sunglasses? You don't get that signal, you're gonna burn faster. Stopped wearing sunglasses, stopped using sunscreen, and I don't get burnt, except for on very rare occasions. Diet has something to do with it as well, but that's a discussion for another day. Yeah, what else? So we talked about shift workers already. And the question for you guys, as we get close to wrapping things up, is what is one action that you'll take tonight and another action you'll take tomorrow to improve your sleep?
Light in the evening and light in the morning.
Light in the evening, light in the morning? Or no light in the evening and light in the morning?
I will start to use the blue light glasses,
Yeah.
blocking glasses,
Yeah.
and also in the morning I will go outside.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyone else?
So I've turned the red light filter back on my phone to come on automatically.
Oh, good.
When I need it.
Done.
I'm gonna look at my bright lights for a red light to see if that would work as a reading light instead of like having an overhead light.
Yeah. Yeah, this
And then I'm gonna look at,
This is my reading light.
maybe you could share where you got that from.
Decathlon.
Okay. And then I'm gonna try and see if I can set up more blocking things for, outside lights for tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's just, for me, it's been a process over 10 years or so. Learning and implementing these things as I go, right? And I know, like I mentioned, there's a lot more I could do. But I still have my vision of getting some land, some space in nature, and building my very simple structure with a roof, mosquito net, no walls, but no other lights around. I actually worked for a startup that didn't quite get off the ground that was going to do sleep retreats north of Chiang Mai. So I'm sad that didn't work out, but I still have hope for myself and hopefully to help others as well. All right, anyone else? Anybody have ideas? I mean, you don't have to share, but I do encourage you to think of what you could do and implement that.
Can I mention something that I've found challenging in Chiang Mai? Because I've got to have the aircon on constantly, I'm waking up thirsty. It's just so dry.
Mm. Yeah, I hear that a lot, but not just thirsty. A lot of people say they get sick. So there are a lot of potential issues. I mean, there's the sound, but usually they're pretty quiet these days. And actually the sound can be calming. So fans can actually be calming. But then there's the air that it's blowing. So is it blowing right on you?
No.
No? So what I do, especially if I don't trust the AC, and I still want to use it, is I put it on the lowest fan setting and point it up, or away from me as much as possible. Perhaps because of that, but also because it could be dirty, it could have mold. So a lot of issues, potential issues with AC that can disrupt your sleep and your health. Yeah, drying things out, which it's weird because here in Thailand, I don't have that issue with dry air. Anybody else have ideas for the AC? Yeah, that's what I got. All right, so we've made it through all of these, I believe. Most of them. Yeah, we did. So that's just review. And then practical implementation, we already talked about a lot of these things. Yep.
Can I ask a question from the previous slide? You had their behavior, I think, first of all, shower 2 hours before bed. Why is that recommended as opposed to right before bed, for example? Shower.
Yeah, I intentionally skip over that one because it's often recommended, but I think there's too much variation. So I think you just have to figure out what works best for you, your body and your climate, especially with us here in Thailand. A lot of these studies are done in places that are not hot and tropical, like Thailand. So I like to take that into account and kind of discredit a lot of these studies, especially something like that. What I do is I take just a natural water temperature shower before bed. I also do a lot of ice baths, so maybe I'm different. So I rarely take warm or hot showers.
I was just curious why they say 2 hours before.
Because this sounds good. Maybe it works for the average person. I'm not the average person. So light is your biggest lever. So we already started with questions. Any more questions, comments? You guys can read this slide. I think I had the QR code on a couple of slides before. But if you do want a cheat sheet and you want these slides, you can go ahead and just scan that QR code, share your email, and I'll spam you a bunch of stuff.
That's very generous.
Yeah. The spam part is generous? Or?
Yeah, that's what I was looking forward to. Can I ask a different question? Probably do a ChatGPT, but you mentioned magnesium.
Yeah.
So what are some natural food sources for magnesium?
Like tart cherry is a big one that comes up a lot. That's funny because that's usually my first thing I look into when somebody suggests a supplement. Is I look at natural food sources, and I honestly don't know how much melatonin is in these foods. So it's hard for me to say if it would help. But you can just look it up.
That's what I'm going to do.
So look it up, try those foods, and I think that's a great thing to try before you supplement. But supplementing is just easier to control in like a scientific way, right? So you can do, I supplement 0.3 milligrams of natural herbal melatonin. But I've tried other doses, like 10, 20 milligrams or more, and I've had varying effects. So a lot of it just depends on my own state. So when I first started experimenting with melatonin, I think the first time it seemed to work like magic. The next time I had racing thoughts and dreams. And so there's a lot of differences with melatonin. So I think it's just something you have to experiment with and be willing to try and really tune into how it's working for you. Yeah. But thank you for that. So supplements, that's, I think, an amazing practice. Look for natural food sources before getting a supplement. Thank you for that.
So this is a facetious question, so feel free to divert or make it more general, make it useful. How much is sleep hygiene a source of marital stress?
Source of what?
Marital stress. You mentioned your wife does the TikTok thing.
Oh, yeah.
Partner who doesn't quite put your
Yes. 100%. Studies show, generally, I think people sleep better without a bed partner. Yeah. So there you go. So if you get married, sleep in separate rooms. Or if you have a partner, just don't sleep together.
I mean, that was good for royalty in the old days, so.
Yeah, no more sleeping together.
They have those beds, I think, that are like this shape or something. I'm not sure where it is, but somehow it helps.
Yeah, there are. That's a good point. There are solutions to this, like beds that are like or you get two beds and push them together, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But they have these fancy smart beds, so you can adjust the temperature on one side, make it different. You can, yeah.
You still want a wall in the middle of the park, isn't
Yeah.
it?
The wall comes up, yeah. And then you can shock them.
What about the inclined bed therapy? Do you know about making the bed inclined?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because that actually improved my sleep apnea.
Ah, really?
Yeah, I was desperate for solutions, and somebody who was also in the health space was like, just raise the head of your bed, and it helped. Yeah, so I did that for a few years, and then we moved, and then I never put it back up again. So yeah, it's something I need to come back to and experiment with again. Yeah.
Sleep apnea is something that's associated with obesity, but you're definitely not. So that is just there's other reasons for the problem.
Yeah. So for me, a lot of it has to do with my dental work. When I was a teenager, taking out the teeth, mouth is smaller, but now I can't breathe. My tongue is oversized for the size of my mouth, for sure. I have an identical twin brother who is also working on similar issues, which is interesting because he's doing I think it's some kind of laser therapy where they're kind of shaving off some of his mouth to open up the cavity, which is
Great, so he's a guinea pig for you then.
pretty. What's that?
He's your guinea pig.
It's funny how that works out. I'm actually lucky in that regard because he seems to hit all these problems and challenges and work through solutions before I get there, even though we're identical. He's already had a hip surgery, hip replacement, so I'm like, well, I guess I know who to talk to at least when I'm ready. Well, thank you guys for joining. Really appreciate it. We do have the next event coming up at 7 p.m. If you guys want to stick around, if you want to grab some food, that's the one thing I did not talk about a lot. But if you want to risk disrupting your sleep and go eat a big meal now, you can do that and then come back. Or we can stay in touch online or not, up to you.
Well, I'll give you an opportunity to PR your next ice bath event.
Sure.
If you want to.
Yeah.
When's it going to be?
All right, so ice bath experiences. Who here has done cold therapy?
Before
Ice bath, cold shower. So I lead those here in Chiang Mai. I've been doing it for about 4 years. I've had over 1,000 people go through my workshops, and all feeling amazing, guaranteed, or they have to try it. So if that sounds interesting to you, we do breath work, 2 different kinds of breath work that I was supposed to teach you guys tonight, but didn't. So if you want to learn that, come to one of my workshops. So I'll teach you 2 different types of breath work, just for a nice balance, equilibrium, and one for energy. And so that will prepare us for the ice bath, then we do the ice bath, and then we feel amazing. That's it. Some of them we have a sauna, so tomorrow morning I'll be at the Old City Spa at 9:30 a.m. We've got a couple of people signed up. There's spots open. If you want to join, you're welcome to join. Go to my website. If you can see there, jasonryer.com. First name is Jason, last name is Ryer, R-Y-E-R.com. You'll find all my upcoming workshops on there. Yep. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You will keep doing the ice baths until you say you feel better. So you'll eventually say anything. You're like, don't put me in the ice again.
Yeah, it's funny. People learn to pick up on that. So after the ice bath, I ask how you feel. And some will be like, amazing. And others will be like, I'm good. I'm like, oh, you're not amazing?
Get back in the ice.
Back in the ice.
No, I'm actually great, thanks.
Actually, we do multiple rounds. So some people do get back in. We had 4 people this morning. We started at about 15 degrees Celsius. Everybody went through it for 3 minutes at 15 degrees. I'd like to say no problem. There were some challenges. I guided them through it. They felt amazing. And then I added some ice, so we got down to 7 degrees. And everybody tried it again. Two stayed for 3 minutes. 2 were in and out. And I'm like, that's okay.
Aside from the Instagram potential, what's the value of response?
The Instagram?
So aside from the Instagram potential, what is
That's
the
all it
value?
is.
What is the value like?
Instagram potential. So for me, it's a big energy boost. So like this morning, I guide people through it and then I do it myself. So as in the ice bath, I get a big energy boost. So I get a big boost of hormones. And so like big energy, mood, motivation. So I exercise. After. Yep. Ice bath and then exercise.
I'm opposite. I decided to ice bath.
Yeah, so one guy was training for, I think, decathlon or triathlon. Anyway, I just warned him that the studies show that ice baths do not help so much for even though we keep saying that over and over. So that's why, one of the reasons I encourage people to do it the other way around. So cold will actually delay your recovery. So it doesn't actually speed up your recovery, unfortunately. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jason, for increasing my awareness about life.
Ryan. Ryan. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Thanks for your insights.
Yeah. What's the next one?
Longevity.
Okay.
Professional.
Do you do? I see your posters in all quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm looking to join on kind of like basically getting different formats and training and how to train kind of thing. So if you've seen the AI guys training, like there's one happening soon in the next 3 weeks time.
I saw something about it.
Yeah, I trained it. I kind of like I'm training him and then kind of like putting him in spaces. Yeah, so I'm looking to join right now for that. Yeah, and then I saw your face and I'm like, people kind of say hi to you. Like,
So how does that work with the AI?
so what I'm doing is it's basically a bit more. I would say actually for that it's a bit more purpose kind of thing. Like so I've been teaching before. I taught like and like when they leave, I see them happy. So I used to read something. The third year I'm like when they go out I'm like you know that happy face, you know, like how everybody love today, right? Yeah, so it's you know like I got it inside, right? You know, so it's just simple kind of like processes and systems to the system which I've built up, and I'm just gonna like almost like training and training, you know. Yeah, so that's something I'm working on right now. Yeah. But this is really inspiration.
Wow. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I did one a week ago.
Yeah.
And I asked people, I sent an email. I got just one person responded and gave me 3 out of 5. It wasn't really for me. And that kind of hurts.
You know?
It's good. It's good to get
Feedback.
like real feedback.
Yeah.
It feels honest.
Yeah. I'll give you the kind of like the feedback.